The number one factor to scale your business fast is leverage, because there's only so much time. You need leverage so it's not all dependent upon you. And there's two kinds of leverage. There's systems and people. You can use systems to automate your process or to maximize your exposure online, or you can hire and lead people. And the reality is any great business needs to be able to do both. And most business owners freak out or get very unsure when it comes to hiring and leading people because they either don't know how to do it or they've had a really bad experience doing it. And there's two reasons for that. The first is no deal flow. They come up with a really crappy job ad and they post it someplace and they get just 3 responses. So they invite them all along to interview and one of them doesn't show up and the other one shows up drunk. So they end up giving it by default to the least crappy option. And then they wonder why they've got problems with their people. You need deal flow. Deal flow is having a high selection, an array of options to make the best choice from. If you only see 3 potential candidates, you're going to end up with the best out of 3. Whereas if you've screened or you've had 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 different CVs, people that have applied for the position, and then you interview the top dozen or 20, and then you take the best half dozen or 5 and get them back for a second interview, your chances of success increase exponentially. The second reason why people don't succeed when it comes to hiring and leading people is they've not defined success. I hate job descriptions. The reason why I hate them is they're just so nebulous. They don't actually tell you anything. So let's say you're hiring for a marketing position and you go, oh, okay, so I'm looking for a marketing executive who can get ads on social media and then distribute them to our sales team. And really, that's all the ad says. They're looking for people that have got experience, that know how to advertise our product the best way and get good quality leads, but they don't quantify what any of that means. So when they get somebody in, as long as that person's seemingly doing the tasks called placing the ads and getting some leads, then they're deemed to be doing an okay job. But there's no way of measuring of whether it's a okay job, a good job, a great job, or an exceptional job. So instead of job descriptions, I prefer job scorecards. If you get this concept, it will change your life. So rather than just saying, okay, these are the activities that the person needs to do, quantify what success looks like. So in this marketing executive example, you say you've got to get leads. Well, how many leads? So you might say success looks like getting in excess of 1,000 leads per month. But that's not all. You might say, well, somebody can get you 1,000 leads, but they're all really crappy leads. So you say, well, the second criteria is those leads convert to paying customers at a rate in excess of 10%. But then it's possible that somebody can get you a high volume of leads that convert, but they spend so much money to do it, you can't make any profit. So the third criteria might be that the cost has to be less than £2 a lead. Therefore, you've defined what success looks like. It looks like a marketing executive that's getting leads on social media in excess of 1,000 leads a month at less than £2 per lead, and those leads must convert at a rate greater than 10%. In other words, it's going to give you more than 100 customers. Now you know what success looks like. So if you're hiring somebody at £25,000 a year or £30,000 or £50,000 a year salary, you can quantify what would equal a good return on investment. At the end of the day, businesses are only spending money to either get customers or keep the customers that they've got. Any expenditure that the business makes is an investment. You need to quantify what is success, what is an acceptable return on investment to know whether or not it's working. If you do that, your chances of getting good people and leading good people and getting great results increase exponentially. So a great question is, how do you motivate and get the best out of your team? Well, I believe people come to work wanting to succeed. Nobody comes in going, oh, I really want to do a crappy minimal job today. They want to succeed, but most employers haven't set up the game so that the employees can win. because they haven't given them the scorecard. They haven't given them the 3 key metrics. And that's what I recommend. I don't recommend more. I don't really recommend less. So 3 key metrics by which you can quantify and measure success in that job role. My experience is people want to excel if you show them what success looks like. If you've ever had to fire somebody and had a bad experience, the worst firings are where the person didn't see it coming. Because you thought they were doing a crappy job, but they thought they were doing a good job. It was a malalignment of expectations. You need to clarify the situation by giving them the metrics. But how do you drive accountability? I believe that the performance metrics should be done company-wide. In all of my companies, every week on a Monday, first thing, we have a company-wide meeting where people sit down and they share their 3 metrics. Specifically, they forecast what they're going to do next week, and then when it gets to next week, they update it with the actual performance that they had. So going in, if I was using a marketing executive's example, number of leads generated, the cost per lead, the conversion rate of those leads, etc. But then they also forecast the next week. And everybody is aware. Doing this activity company-wide makes everybody aware of what everybody else is doing. It facilitates conversations, questions to be asked. Because if somebody is not performing, I'd rather everybody knew about it sooner. Why? Because it may not be their fault. It may be because they're being distracted by somebody else in another department. It may be that they haven't got the resources, or they're just overworked, or it's unrealistic targets. Or they may just be underperforming. The point is, facilitating an open conversation creates a culture of accountability and drives better performance. Well, my experience of managing teams of dozens and dozens and dozens of employees comes down to a few simple principles. Don't micromanage. Look, demand the best, and very often you'll get it. But you need to call it tight. What does that mean? The best way to get an A player to underperform is to put them in a team of B and C players. You get what you tolerate. And if you tolerate people slacking off and underperforming, then you're going to create a culture of underperformance. Most business owners aren't prepared to have the tough conversations. They're not prepared to say it as it is. But the reality is that if you've defined what success looks like, and you're having the conversations regularly at a company weekly meeting, it's easier to drive better performance. You nip it in the bud. Kill the monster while it's small. Don't make it this big dramatic problem and it feels awkward. If you are calling it tight by, as soon as they slip up, touching in with them, letting them know that you're aware of it and seeing how you can support them, knowing that you believe they can do the job because that's why you hired them in the first place. What can you do to help? What's causing the non-performance, to address it? If you're calling it tight by consistently supporting your team and expecting and demanding high performance, very often you'll get it. The fact is, a lot of the people watching this video know that there is somebody in their company that they need to fire. Right? They've just not been calling it tight. They've been tolerating this crappy inferior performance, and then they wonder why they're frustrated, why their profits are down, why they're struggling. Because they've not shown up as a leader, they've not defined success, they've not called it tight. And then you've created a culture of B and C players, and even the A players or the better performers that you have will underperform if you put a bad apple in the barrel. So you need to call it tight, and that very often means you should hire slow and fire fast. Easy to say, of course, not as easy to do. But if you've defined success and you're incrementally calling it tight, my experience is the weaker players very often will leave if they're not performing, and you'll get a much higher level of performance from your team. They'll go, phew, oh, thank God he or she is gone. They're like relieved, and yet you as a business owner have been tolerating them for months or even years. Call it tight, get a higher level of performance. At the end of the day, if you want world-class performance and a world-class culture, you've got to have fun. You've got to enjoy being together. Gazelle companies are growing fast, which means that the people within them have to grow fast. If your company's not growing, it's because your people aren't growing. How can you inspire them? How can you support them more? If they feel supported, they will crawl over broken glass to get the results for your company. That's the culture that you want. Richard Branson has a great quote. He says, you want to train your people so they could go and get any job in the marketplace, but treat them so well that they won't want to. That, I feel, is the definition of a great culture. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you check out the other resources available on our website. If you want to dig a little deeper into what I just spoke about, the product I'd recommend would be business value maximization, building a company worth selling. In this product, I talk about the 6 keys to business value maximization and how any company should be built to sell even if you have no intention of exiting.